Finance Committee, the Mobile City Council. We're here today to get an update on the construction and the financing plans for the Civic Center Arena. And we'll start out with a construction update by the Chief of Staff, Barber.
Yeah, good afternoon. The sheet that I just gave you from Volker is actually predated. I think it's December 15th is when this was prepared. So Sam Mathaney's been stuck in airports. He's trying to get back to Mobile because of the storms, the winter storms. They've been unable to do so. He'll be back tomorrow. So we're further along than what that says. The deck, level 4 of the parking deck has been poured. If you look out there, you'll see that. They're forming up for the level 5 out of the 6 levels. South side, they're still doing all of the CMU walls for the staircases, elevators, and you can see where they've already began to top out on the south side as well. So we're on time. The one other thing that kind of comes to bear is the access between the core building and the parking garage. But we think that was not in either the Corps' original design nor in the bid for White Spunner's contract on the parking deck. So that'll probably be bid separately. But there's enough value savings in the parking deck that we should be able to complete that within the budget that was set for the parking.
This is the access from the Corps building to the parking deck.
That's correct.
But wasn't the original bid of the parking deck 20% more than what we anticipated?
I don't think it was 20.
Yeah, but I mean, it was substantially higher than what we originally anticipated beyond our budget. So you're saying that we have that much cost savings now in the parking garage?
I'm trying to understand. I think what happened was that there was $30 million that was set aside as a placeholder kind of. It wasn't really a bid or, because of the cost escalation, I think it came in at over $38 million. But they value engineered some of that to lower that price down from the agreed upon $38.5 million, whatever it may have been. And then the council moved that money from unassigned fund balance in order to actually meet what that bid requirement was.
We're too far now gone to even consider stopping, but you said we had that much cost savings that way we could do this. And I haven't seen those numbers on any proposal or any line item saying that this is a value that we have to bid or build. It hasn't been part of any plan that I've seen. What's the cost of it?
I think we're going to have to get out the bid, but my understanding talking to Sam is that there was enough cost savings in the original bid price. They did some value engineering to get it down some, so we don't think we'll have to come back to city council for more money. And this is the parking deck. As far as the arena, as you can see, all the surcharge has been put in. It looks like they're going to have to fix it from some erosion. And you can see all the exterior walls are down. If you look at the south side of the arena, the dome is beginning to come down. And so they're moving right along with that. The murals, they're in the process of lowering them down, and they're making access to what's remaining of the expo hall so they can be stored there. That'll be walled off, and then there'll be HVAC there as they complete the process of restoring or salvaging what they can of the mural, of the mosaics, in preparation to put them back into the new arena when that happens.
Before we get too far along, I want to go back to this access between the parking facility and the Corps of Engineers building. Access by foot, by car, what's access are we talking about?
It's going to be, I think it's footpath, concrete footpath between the core building and the parking deck.
And that'll just be on
Isn't that right, Carly? Yeah.
the southern elevation, just from the parking deck over to.
That's correct.
So it's a nominal cost?
It's a nominal cost.
Okay.
It
All
just wasn't included in the original bid documents for either the core building or the parking deck.
Are we still on programming planning activities in this discussion, or you just down on the construction?
What are you referring to?
I'm referring to the daily report that we have in front of us. Can I ask you anything about this?
Sure.
The arena lighting and the parking lot lighting and the lighting in that neighborhood. Sometimes I pass by there at night. Sometimes it gets pretty bright. We need to make sure that in the design plan that the light is down lighting and it's not focused or spread, that the lumens or the candle isn't spread so far out that it's getting into the neighbors next door. That's pretty close. you know, at night, that's really, really bright. And the core building's been bright at night too. So we need to make sure that when they put the shades and the blinds up, that it's not interfering with the neighbors. So I've got that same problem now with VIA, with the new lighting that they have in the parking lot. It's flooding the neighborhood and they're having to change the light in the parking lot.
Okay, now, as far as where we are, the project, we did have 100% design. All the construction documents went out on December 17th for bid to the
Okay,
three.
can I just ask, just to make sure, so the demo is on track, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Now, when I say on track, it got extended a little bit because of the unexpected asbestos that we found, and the reason, and also because we had to surcharge the property with the demo contractor instead of waiting for the actual construction contract. So it was scheduled to be around mid-March, and I think we're still on schedule to be substantially completed by mid-March.
Okay, thank you.
And do keep in mind, Expo will remain standing until they're ready to reinstall those mosaics. Construction documents went out. There will be a pre-bid meeting on January the 8th with 3 qualifying companies. On February the 7th, the bid documents will be open. It will appear for first read. Lowest bidder will, the lowest qualified bidder will, on the 18th of February. These are all on the back page of what I handed you, so we'll have these dates. The contract approval by the city council is scheduled for February the 25th, and then we will award the arena contract on February 26th.
Do you have a matching schedule in here for DBEs and SDBEs and MVDEs?
I do not in this document, no.
But we do have, it's in our timeline, that it's matching for those types of contracts, the bid process.
This be in the bid package? Yeah, it should be in a bid package, yeah.
I've got a question about Expo Hall. That was part of the original contract to be torn down. And now it's going to be torn down at a later date, only when the mosaics can be installed in the new Civic Center. Is this contractor going to come back under the same price and all that to tear down Expo?
I think you're going to add a mobilization price to it because they'll have to mobilize again in order to access the site with the proper equipment to take the rest of it down.
What's that value? Do we know yet?
I do not know. We're talking about significantly less structure than what they're out here doing now. So whatever it takes to take the rest of the Expo down. Good question, though.
So is Volker, they're accounting for this price at some level, I would imagine.
Yes, they're monitoring it. You know, there is an offset here in that the removal and the movement and placement of the mosaic, say at the convention center, came with a price. I don't know what that was, but we no longer have that expense, which will go toward the mobilization for the demolition of the Expo.
But Expo demo would take place, say, 2 years from now.
During the construct, maybe year and a half from now, whenever they're ready to install the mosaics into the new construction.
Okay.
Any more questions before we move on to the plans for the financing?
Yeah, so was there a credit? Was there a credit given or will be given under the current contract for demo?
It's not a credit. Any monies that we're not using for
Just not going
budgeted,
to pay it out?
it goes into contingency, and then the contingency will be used for unforeseeable expenses like the asbestos we just found.
I think what he's asking is, being that they're not going to complete their contract, will that money just sit there? The answer to the question is, this contract is completed. They bill by a schedule of values, and in that schedule of values, there will be that balance be left on there plus their retainage until it's finished, or at whatever portion of the job their retainage is payable. So they'll be at that point they'll be at that point until they come back and finish. So we won't pay them that money, nor will we take that money out of the budget. It just won't be paid until the job's complete with the retainage that goes to that portion of the job. If that's what you're asking. No, we won't get a credit for it because they'll still be under contract till it's finished.
But my understanding, there will be an added expense to remobilize the demo.
Well, that's a change order.
Yeah.
So he asked about the original contract, I believe.
Plus the cost 2 years from now versus the cost today, which we've already got fixed by way of a contract.
You're talking about
That price is gonna change.
the mobilization costs will, but not the fixed cost for demolition.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Penn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would it change the timeline with the completing of the Civic Center since we're waiting the demo?
It will not. The footprint of the expo is not the footprint of the arena. So once we award the contract, once y'all approve the award, the contractor will begin probably in March to go ahead and start working on that site. So the surcharge would have been completed. They'll remove that and put the piles in and begin on the foundation. And the expo is nowhere near that footprint. So it'll just sit there as a lone building until they're ready for those mosaics.
What's the adjusted completion date?
The completion date is ahead of Mardi Gras 2027. It's January 2027.
2 years.
Yep.
All right, any further questions on this topic before we move on? Hearing none. Scott?
I will pass these around, just as a reminder of where we were.
It'd be very helpful if we didn't have people going in and out of that door constantly.
We can't.
Well, it locks
We have-
automatically.
it has-
It automatically
It has to
locks.
remain. Specific to the financials, there's been no change to where we were. You did have a couple of questions at the last meeting. I'll run down just a list for you. So total project at the top of the page you see is estimated at $302,200,000. OVG project funding. The agreement we have with OVG is they'll provide $15 million in funding, $7.5 million a year for 2 years. I believe that's in 2025 calendar and 2026 calendar to go toward the construction. That will leave the city total at $287,200,000. We've expended approximately $20 million to date total project, which leaves a remaining project cost of $267,200,000. Through discussions with our financial partners, PFM Group, and looking at the bond issue itself, we've kind of drilled this down to the estimated city contribution. If we're talking just dollars coming from the cities we know today, $17,200,000 over 2 years over the construction of the project, and a estimated bond issue value of $250 million. There are some opportunities for financial partnerships. One within the new agreement with OVG Group. OVG Group will be the partner that will do the work for the sponsorships as that agreement is approved. So OVG Group will then be our sponsorship partner. They'll be the person or the group that does that on our behalf. There'll be revenue sharing from those partnerships. And we've also had communications with Mobile County preliminarily to discuss the project, to talk about their opportunity to participate in the funding. We have not identified any specific number or schedule or timeline for that, but we have presented the project to them for their consideration. So with that, our schedule remains unchanged. Bond issue process approval, we have scheduled to be on the agenda for February 4th. The bond issue process approval resolution that you'll have at February 4th only is the authorization to start the car, is not allowed to drive the car anywhere. That is the resolution that allows the formal bond discussion to move forward so we can prepare the documents as we would need to submit to the bond market. So the resolution on February 4th is simply the authorization to start the process. It is not approving any financial activity.
Okay, when you say bond issue process approval, what are you talking about?
So with this, there's going to have to be a posting of the preliminary offering statement that goes out to the public so we can
Right.
get that to the prospective buyers of the bonds. That's what we're doing. It's an authorization to approve those documents for distribution. It's an advance notice to the bond market that there is going to be a bond issue.
But there's
and a
nothing for
bond-
the council to approve at that point.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, what? There is
council-
nothing or there is
There
something?
is something to approve. It's only the approval of effectively the advertisement of the upcoming bond issue.
And is that, when are you going to present that resolution to us?
It'll be on the February 4th agenda, and I can have you a draft before
And
that.
would you
So
go ahead and get that draft to us as soon as you can?
Certainly.
I think we'd like to have it, if we can, before we see it on February 4th.
Absolutely, you will. PFM Group is drafting it. In fact, they're drafting it today.
This is in that approval would be when we are adopting the competitive bond process
That is correct.
along with the taxable or non-taxable bonds.
That is correct.
But
That's correct.
we won't have a number at that point.
That is correct. We do not have a number at that point. We'll have an estimated number of the 250 million, but the official number won't go out until we get the bid document.
Question.
Wait a minute, William, let me just ask one more question. So that would go on the agenda on the 4th, and we would approve it on the 11th, correct?
The preference is to be approved on the 4th. So if we need to get that to you beforehand, we can.
If you're ready for it. So if you want us to approve the process on the 4th, any questions about the process, or we're gonna submit them in writing to you guys? Or are you asking the chairman to have a committee meeting before the 4th to ask any questions on the process that y'all guys are submitting?
If we could have a committee meeting, that would be great.
Or should the
We,
questions just be submitted in writing?
Well, I think the easier thing to do, if you want it approved on the 4th, why don't you put it on the agenda the week before?
we can do that. The only hesitancy to that, and we'll work within this, is the bond rating activity. The meeting with the bond rating agencies takes place the week of January 27th.
Okay.
So we're meeting with them on the 27th, 28th, and 29th preliminary schedule today. We're trying to finalize that. So if I can push this up, we can get that to you, we certainly will. If we need to have the first read on the 4th and the second read on the 11th, I'll work within that schedule. We wouldn't want to go beyond the 11th if at all possible.
Well, we want to make sure that we're as responsive as we can be.
Understood?
What I understand you to be saying is you're not going to be ready to put anything on our agenda until after you meet with the rating agencies and so forth.
We would like to have those rating visits complete, just in case there's any question that they have that comes up during that time.
Okay.
That's our window. We're just hedging our bets. We don't anticipate any issues at all. We just don't want to put this on the agenda prematurely and have questions that we couldn't get prepared from the agency. So
As I said, we want to be responsive. We want to be moving ahead as quickly as possible. At the same time, we have to be careful of our duty to the taxpayers
certainly.
because we're talking about a lot of money. And so we don't want to just plop it on there on the 4th and take it up on the 4th. There needs to be some space between when it shows up on the agenda and when we actually approve it.
Certainly. We'll get that to you as early as we can, hopefully the week before. Again, that's the rating agency visits will dictate that, but as soon as we can push that out to you, we'll do that. And if it takes a week in between to get that to you, we'll work within that schedule.
Mr. Chairman, he said that his end date with the rating process ends on the 29th, right? This is the week of the 27th.
The week of the 27th.
27th, 28th, 29th is what you said.
That is our preliminary schedule as of 90 minutes ago.
Well, that puts us into Thursday, the 30th, and then Tuesday is the 4th. So if you're going to get anything to us, we'd only have the 30th, the 31st, and the weekend to look at it before a first read. If you're asking for us to approve it on the 4th, that's a short window.
Again, we can provide it on the 30th and have you first read on the 4th and second read on the 11th. It's
Okay.
perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were just trying to work within that schedule. And
Okay.
again, the document's relatively benign, but it will make sense when we
Let's just plan
we'll
on
get there.
having it show up on the agenda on
On the
February
4th.
4th. But again, we'd like to have an opportunity to see it as soon
Yes,
as
sir.
you can get it to us ahead of the 4th. So it shows up first time on the agenda on the 4th and is approved on the 11th.
All right, sir.
Okay?
Question,
Are you all keeping track of all this?
if our bond issue process approval is essentially us adopting what type of bonds and what process we're going to follow, what would change with the rating agency to that process?
That was my question, kind of to kind of add to that. The bond rating, does that impact the notice, the issue notice, I guess? Is that kind of what we're waiting on there?
We don't believe so, but we want to make sure that we don't compress our schedule so tightly that we're not able to answer any questions or follow-up information that may be requested by the rating agencies. And that's the reason we were doing that. Those are, we're meeting with S&P on one day, Moody's on the other day. They'll have a different set of questions and a different set of rating. So the compressed schedule for both of those may lend itself to follow-up information requested by them. And that's why we were working within that schedule to make sure we didn't miss anything to the extent that we could. But within the schedule, if we have that to you on the 4th for a first read consideration, if it's on that agenda,
Within the rules.
read on the 11th, that would still, I think, give us time to push ahead with the 18th and 25th for the first read and second read on the bond issue itself.
I mean, that's fine within the rules, but you got to remember, you're going to have some people in the general public that are going to be pushing us for information on this too, that aren't as familiar as we
Certainly.
are, and they're going to be looking for answers. I mean, so that gives us, I guess, hopefully enough time to kind of spit some of that information out into the public.
Certainly.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I'm looking at these two timelines and so we have the arena contract first read on the 18th or the bond issue.
The 14th.
This says.
This says 18th.
You're looking at the construction.
Yeah.
The construction contract.
Yes.
Is the first read on the 18th of February. And the bond issue first. And the bond issue first read is on the 18th of February.
Yes, sir.
Then on the 25th, we approve the contract, the construction project contract, and the bond issue. We have the second reading on the bond issue. But my concern is that the contract is not awarded until the 26th of February. So how do you know how much the bond issue is going to be until you've awarded the contract?
So we'll know how much the bond issue.
I'm not critical. I'm just,
No,
I'm
sir,
not-
no, understand. So we'll know what the bond issue is going to be when we open the bids.
Okay.
When the bids are open, we'll know the value at that point, and then everything will hinge on the bid opening. Once the bids are open, then we know the contract value and we know the bond issue value.
Okay.
Legally, we can't award the contract until after we've gone to market and gotten the money. So the contract will have to be awarded after we've secured the bond.
Councilman Daves.
Wait a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You agree with what Councilman Carroll just said?
So when you can award it's depending on how you award the contract. You can award the contract to be paid with your bond proceeds. So you can word that on that day. The discussion right now, as I understanding, is to have these on the agenda on the 25th, second read. We would go to market bonds then. So by the end of the day, you'll be in the bond market under the schedule or within the next day. And the discussion was award the contract on the following day, the 26th. So even for the construction contract, even if you needed to push that out 3 days until the 29th, you would still be in the market and have your bond
I
proceeds.
see. So the contract is awarded on the 26th. We've gone to the market on the 25th.
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
We've approved it, gone to the market on the 25th. We award the contract on the 26th,
That's correct.
correct?
So if you wanted to hedge that, you could say, you could do the contract contingent on the bond proceeds being delivered, or you could award the construction contract on the 29th.
Well, one or the other, because you want to make sure that you're getting whatever the value is on these bonds, because you
Certainly.
won't know until it goes to market.
Certainly.
Well, I mean, once we have our agent, once
Well,
they know,
let's go one at a time.
I'm sorry.
Do you have anything else, Gina? Is that a
No.
question, Gina?
No,
This
I
is
was just
statement.
saying one of the two, because what William was trying to say was that generally when we do construction or award contracts, the money is already there. We know exactly how much it's going to be. And if you go to market on one day and do the contract the next, when it's the bond market, we may not know the exact amount that we're actually going to receive from the bonds.
So
It doesn't quite work.
Wait.
like that.
Well,
Let's
sort of,
let
though.
let's let Scott answer.
So going to market and receiving the proceeds are on different, going to be on a different day. We won't receive the proceeds on the same day we go to market.
Well, but you'll know how
Right.
much.
The bonds will typically sell on the first day. So the bonds will be gone. That is complete. The only thing you're doing then is awaiting the actual deposit of the dollars.
Well, yeah. But you still
So,
got to sell
Yeah, right.
the bonds.
It's a fairly compressed schedule, but it fits within what we know as of today.
Okay, William.
No, I'm okay. He's explained pretty much. Just the biggest thing is that we know we have money coming in house. You know, we can't really sign a contract without knowing that we have the money. Plus, once whoever we agree to be the vessel of or the paper, it's then their responsibility to sell the paper, no longer ours. So we're basically
Yeah.
We're
But we'll
basically
know we'll know we have the money on the
right. We'll know we
25th.
have the money that same day.
Chief, do you have something?
Yeah,
want
if
to
you look
say?
at the 26, it's a limited notice to proceed.
Mhm.
It just means that the contractor that we award will begin the pre-construction activities. And then again, it's contingent upon the delivery of these deposits.
Full notice to proceed on the 12th.
On the
12th of the following month.
February the 26th, you'll see that there's a limited notice to proceed.
The full notice on March 12th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Contingent upon the receipt of the bond monies.
I got
Yeah.
a question. I haven't read the bid or looked at the bid documents. I will today, but was the structure of the bid in a way where it had options associated with it, where in the event that it is higher than what we expect, we can draw it back without having to rebid?
Yeah,
Can you run through maybe just a couple of those?
you're probably getting way beyond my Volcker experience at this point. So but there are all alternates in the bid that we can pull back from if we need to. I do know that.
What are they? Is what he's asking.
Well, I know one of them that I asked for was the lighting of the dome to be able to change color with the rest of the city. We don't know what that would cost. I mean, that's an alternate in the bid contract.
Is that additive or deductive?
It would be added, wouldn't it?
Be added.
Which would be nice.
I don't know how we could not do it personally, but
I'm just trying to understand where we're going to be with the bond issue. And if this bid comes back at $400 million, where are we going to be with that?
in real big trouble, I think.
Um,
There's actually quite a bit of cushion. We're not limited to 200, 250, but that's a decision I think administration and council would have to make.
Yeah.
That's just the importance of having the bid opening when we're having it on the February 7th, just to make sure if we get there, then we have plenty of time to put the brakes on anything we need to and reformulate.
in regards to the bond issue process approval, there's no expiration associated with that.
That is correct. Again, that is effectively the remote start on your car. It is just giving us ability to warm up, to put information out to the public, to let them know that there's a bond issue underway and they can review the preliminary offering statement and understand the financials of the city. It's just an advertisement of the bonds itself. It's no formal agreement. Other than that, effectively, it's a listing if you're selling your house.
Did we?
Wait. Let's let Mr. Reynolds finish.
That satisfies me.
Okay, I think Mr. Woods has been waiting patiently.
Let me turn around. Look. so I can see what's going on.
I just have a couple of questions,
Yes,
Scott.
sir.
Going back to the OVG, now that they're going to be doing that profit sharing, that sponsor sharing, we've obviously approved the OVG contract for all facilities. Would that be a separate contract or just an addendum, I guess?
To my understanding, that will be a separate contract
Okay.
from what we have going.
But we would run it parallel in the event, I guess there'd be language in there saying in the event that the master contract was canceled for some reason or another amongst the people, amongst the parties, then that sponsorship would also be nullified too, I guess.
That I do not know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to lead the dates on everything that we've talked about so far, the OVG management agreement for the new arena is in the final stages. And so we look for that to be on council agenda January 14th and then January 21st.
It's next week.
And so that would be part and parcel to the bond issuance because of their capital investment. So the bonding folks are going to want to see that ratified and recorded.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay. And then on the reimbursement, we approved the reimbursement aspect of it. Kind of looking here, there's obviously looking at what the estimated bond issue value is. That really doesn't account for any of the I guess the demolition and miscellaneous. That would potentially be the reimbursement that we would possibly seek from the bond issue. Is that
Any dollars we've spent in the last 60 days,
okay?
we can go we can go backward 60 days from the date that the reimbursement resolution
What's approved?
is approved. So there would be a couple $1 million in that we could do. The preference would be, depending on what we see with the bid, would be to not reimburse ourselves initially. What we would want to do is move forward and spend the bond issue to the extent that we can. Where that comes important is to keep you out of arbitrage interest concerns. We'll put the money in the bank for the 2 years during construction. As long as we're spending the money down, we can earn interest. If there were to be a delay and we were to have a delay in construction, or if we were to have an arbitrage interest issue, we could then reimburse ourselves and accelerate the bond issue, money being paid out to save us that risk.
And is there a time frame on the reimbursement? Is that just at any given point prior to P&I per se, for lack of a better term?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So cash flow wise, for the next couple of years until construction's complete, if we need to reimburse ourselves at any given point, we could have that conversation then.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
And then last question, kind of I think last committee meeting we met, we talked about, bond issues, second reading, we approve it officially. We could be on the market theoretically by 3:00. It's
Good.
kind of like a arbitrary time frame that you gave. Paper sold that day. So really, that's not really a hindrance upon, potentially executing the contract the following day. We'll have a good idea coming out of that Tuesday of council day when we've approved the bond, and if we go to market that day of where we stand, I guess.
Yes, sir. And we will get updates as soon as we go, even if we didn't sell in the market that day, if it was the next day or the following day. It's my understanding that the contract was, as described, is a notice to proceed on the 26th with a full contract executed and
On
available
bond
on March
issuance.
12th.
Okay.
So that you would be well within your window by a week to 10 days on the cash portion of that.
It's not a lot of time, but it's a lot more time than I thought. So that's
Yeah.
that's it for me.
Point of clarification of his question about this January 14th final OVG approval. Is that the sponsorship contract or is that that master contract that we've already approved once?
You haven't approved, this is a management.
Oh, yeah.
contract.
Okay. I
Yeah.
got you. We did the temporary
Mhm.
management contract for now.
Yeah, that's for the existing facility. This will be for the new arena.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Sorry about that, Councilman Daves.
Oh, thanks. I was just listening to everything. Cost projections. Did we do any estimates at 65% CD to be assured that we were going to be within budget? What, can y'all share those numbers with us?
I don't know that I had the actual numbers. I know that at 60%, if you remember, at 60%, there was a hard stop on it, and we had to come back and say that we're within the budgeted range. And so at 60%, we did confirm that we're within budget at that point. And then the the council approved for us to proceed to 100% design. And that's where we are today.
Do we know what are those numbers included in here? And then two, did they include anything for year-end cost escalation, steel, masonry, concrete? Are those numbers, were those numbers adjusted being that we starting at the beginning of another fiscal year for most material supply?
Yeah, we don't have anybody from Volker, but the Volker built in a cost escalation depending on the timeline. And I believe that was around $500,000 a month.
So, 1.5%, all right.
I have a question. Scott, this may be yours. We were talking about the OVG work, partnerships, new partners, that sort of thing. When you're talking about the partnerships, is that sponsorships, other organizations doing sponsorships, or are we talking something else on this?
So the original conversation with them was the 15 million over the first 2 years as part of their commitment to the construction of it. The sponsorships is a new discussion with them, as I understand it, based on the new contract that we have.
It's a little premature. The sponsorships are premature to us because we don't have a contract with OVG yet. As soon as we do that, that'll all be in this contract on how that will be handled.
So that's what they will be doing,
Yes.
the partnerships. And you said this is new. They were not going to do that from the get-go?
Are we talking about OVG?
Yes.
Yeah, OVG, it was, yes, but we don't have an agreement yet. We think
Right,
we're
right.
very close. We hope to have it for first read next week, and that'll include all that. So we haven't sought anything like sponsorships until we have an agreement.
Yeah, but we had talked about sharing, all these types of things with the partnerships and bringing in other groups to help defray the cost. And also, this is just the same thing we've been talking about, but we've got to get the contract in place.
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Anybody else?
You got any questions for Sean?
Okay, Scott, when does this committee need to meet again?
If there's an opportunity we go to is there a way we could do that on the 4th of
Sure.
February?
It's fine with me. It's up to the chairman.
We'll have all the bond rating work then complete. We'll have all of those meetings had taken place, and we'll have had the notice to proceed or the bond issue discussion.
We don't have anybody coming in on the 4th, do we?
Councilman Davis,
Pardon me? It's fine.
I mean, we're going to meet on the 4th, which is 3 days before the arena bid due date. Be nice for us to meet and know, that what we're actually dealing with when we know the price. I think it would be more helpful to everyone to understand that rather than,
Can I ask a question?
talking these generalities again.
Can I ask a question?
Wait. So what are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting the 11th.
Is that bid date?
That'll work.
What's bid date?
7.
Asking questions about the approval process would be.
A question.
Wait, hold it.
Okay.
Let's get this issue resolved. Does your question, William, have to do with when the next meeting is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
The bid date is what? The 7th?
Bid opening is the 7th.
Is it public?
Yes.
So it'll be publicly open and read out loud where? So in the atrium. So that means that any of us can be here for the bid opening and hear the bid opening. So normally in other places that the process starts immediately after the bid opening. So we know the number at the bid opening, which would be the 7th is, what date is that? Tuesday or Thursday, right?
Tuesday.
So it's got to be a Thursday.
Thursday.
So it's a Thursday. It'd be up to the chairman if he wanted to start the process that Thursday afternoon, if he wanted to call a meeting then after we know what the numbers are. It's not, jobs only bid on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Never seen one bid on a Friday. That would be kind of strange.
Well, why don't we just meet on the 11th?
All right, that's fine. I'm just asking you.
Yeah.
11th is fine.
The only thing you're foregoing by meeting on the 11th is the bond issue process approval discussion, which it's my understanding we don't see any significant change
Yeah.
happening to that process. We've already had a committee meeting to discuss and lay out. We met with our consultants. They've explained to us why, competitive process is better than the non-competitive or whatever it's called.
I agree. If you have any questions, submit them by email.
Okay, well, let's plan on meeting on the 11th then at 1 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Anything else before we quit today?
One quick apology. I apologize for I'm still getting used to the lay items over for a week and get those through the schedule. It is what it is. I'm used to first and second readings, not the layover where this there. So I apologize for that confusion on that date. That's on me. I just got to get my head around
No problem.
that scheduling process.
Okay.
What happens if we come back $50 million over budget?
We'll deal with that issue when we get there.
I thought I heard a motion to adjourn.
Okay, committee will meet again February 11th at 1 PM.
You don't do 20% of your operating revenue. That'd be $80 million. So you could